What's up, the internet? It's me, it's Kyle. We're back. Part 2 of day 2 of the posted anniversary for the EXP. Now, if you're just tuning in, you're just joining us, welcome. If you're back, thank you for coming back. Thank you for hitting that refresh button. You're going to notice in a lot of our commercials, we've got these little white box things with some dots. Get your phone out, scan those things, and then do what it says. Just throwing it out there. Trust me, I'm not trying to steal your information. I'm just trying to get you to give it to me. So I'm going to bring back in my cohort and compatriot for this weekend, Miss Jena of the Two-Handed Wave. And I am going to bring our next guest has maybe the coolest streaming headphones of anybody we're going to have on, especially cooler than mine, which are super basic. His have cat ears to go with Critter, I assume. But, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Hutchison, person held responsible for Big Dog Inc.
Yeah, that's what it says right there, right? That's
yeah.
I mean something. It's on the internet, so it has to be true.
Sure. So, I'm just going to start here when I ask the super simple question. So, Tom, what's new? We haven't actually talked in a while. This might be the longest we've gone without like interacting about what's happening with Big Dog Inc. in a long time. So, what's new?
I don't know. That's the hard question, I guess. I mean, what's new is really nothing, because we're always in the process of just doing what we always do, which is making comics, doing Kickstarters, fulfilling Kickstarters. We're fulfilling 2 Kickstarters in the next 2 months, while we're prepping for the next Kickstarter to launch in October, which will be the third and final portion of this arc of The Legend of Oz that'll be launching in October. So it's always sort of a constant cycle of create, Kickstarter, fund, fulfill, do again. And so
work, fund.
Correct. Yes. And we're in the work period right now as we get ready to launch. So that's basically Big Dog Inc. We actually did a con yesterday, went out to Wheaton, Illinois for Mighty Con. It was a little con that I used to do all the time when I lived in Illinois. There was an Oz convention that got canceled, and it happened to be that weekend. And then I just happened, like on last Wednesday, I just happened to see them post that they were doing it this weekend. So I was like, yo, somebody can come take a spot if you got a spot. And they were like, yeah, come on in. So we did a con yesterday. It was this little one-day show. So what's truly new is somehow I went there with a Big Dog Inc. booth, about 6 short boxes of comics to sell. We sold a bunch of comics. We did really well. But I also came back with 13 long boxes of comics that I bought from somebody else's booth. Because, you know, I do the Midnight Collector show on the Comic Book Shopping Network, and we have 3,000 new books to go through now. So
there you go.
Isn't that just always how it goes? Isn't that just always how it goes?
That was not the plan. And thank God I emptied the van before I went down there and went down with like a kind of a skeleton booth, because otherwise I would have never been able to get it all in the van. But, you know, Tetris skills, us 90 kids, the Tetris skills are real. And, you know, and that should be taught in school, I think.
Yes.
Well, who would have known that all those hours of Who would have known that all those hours of playing Tetris were just practices for someday having to stack short and long boxes?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Or how to get your toys in the closet or whatever you need to do. It's a real thing. Right. Tetris should be a legitimate like 7th period class. Like just come play Tetris for 2 hours and then go home.
What's funny about this wall is half of it is the 6 inches. And then we have the deluxe ones, and then I have the regular ones. Right. But none of them look out of order.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness.
That's the interesting part of this that I want to talk to you about, Tom, is the Midnight Collector show and kind of the diversity of what Big Dog is involved in now. Sure. Doing a little more of the slinging in addition to the publishing.
Sure.
But you just had all summer. You ran and I'm completely blanking on the name only because I don't have my notes here. But the summer camp project.
Oh yeah, Camp Rad Dog. Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah, Camp Rad Dog. Thank you.
Right.
I should remember that. It's 3-letter words. But so that was successful. That was a lot of fun to watch and to participate in. From a viewer standpoint on the outside. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
You gotta always be repping, man. You gotta always be repping.
It's true. Always be repping. I'm choosing to rep Kevin from The Office. That's what.
There you go. There you go.
So that was interesting and that was fun to watch. How is that different? I know you worked with Totally Rad Comics on that. How is that different from just the normal process of going through your cycle on a book?
Only a little bit, in that Jim and I, Jim Noble from Totally Rad Comics, we kind of vaguely talked about how to set this thing up. Like, we knew, okay, we're going to have one basic cover. We're going to have 5 variant covers. We're going to add on 5 variant covers when we do our Camp Olympics connecting puzzle things. But the rest of the campaigns really were kind of open to interpretation. However he wanted to do his, however I wanted to do mine. Like, he did a bunch of metal covers and stuff. I didn't do that. I just decided it wasn't going to do that on this campaign. So it was kind of screwed up, because the whole point was to create a balanced 2-camp campaign where either way you went, you got essentially the equivalent things, and then you had the competition to see who was better at the end. But we really didn't do that. We did that with the most basic core element of start with 6 covers, add 5, and then do whatever the hell you want the rest of the way. But because I had he's only been doing this a couple of years, I've been doing this for 11, so I had a lot more product from a trade paperback perspective. So I had a bunch of what we called summer reading, where people that didn't know who we were could catch up on things that we did, and understand who these characters that were now running around and diving in the lake. Like, who the hell are these people? Like, I don't understand who Dorothy is. Oh, she's from this Legend of Oz thing. Who's this cat girl character? Oh, that's from Critter. Okay, so I did that with the summer reading portion of it. And then Jim on his side, he just kind of did a regular Totally Rad. I can't say it was regular, because normally his campaigns have like 75 covers or something. So he kept it very, very light. But he just kind of kept adding covers here and there, just kind of doing whatever he wanted to do. And that was fine, because again, we didn't really lock it all in. We just kind of were like, do whatever we want. But we both, when we talked, we both kind of were like, if we kind of hit this number, we probably did okay. And we went way past that number. Both campaigns went way past the we did okay number. So we're both super happy with the result. We definitely both got crossover eyeballs, which was kind of half the point as well. It's like, we know that there's people that, we know for a fact there were people that were backing Jim's campaigns that had no idea who I was. And we got messages from them saying, yeah, I've used to back Jim all the time. I've never heard of Big Dog. So now I got my first Big Dog book. So, that was the point, is we want to have fun. We want to give fans on both sides something to do, something to talk about, something to enjoy. And then we want to try and cross over the audiences so that both campaigns can, well, not both campaigns, but both companies and brands can, get a little elevation.
So I'm going to ask this question the only way I know how to ask this question. If we were going to make a Camp Rad Dog animated series, is it Meatballs, or is it like Sleepaway Camp?
It's so there's actually a very specific answer. On the Camp crossover side, it's Meatballs. On the Camp retro side, for Jim, it's Meatballs 4. That's legitimately like how it works.
Why'd you make me have to remember Meatballs 4?
Listen, that's his fault. I didn't even know it existed until he told me it did. And then I suffered through it too, so everybody else has to.
It's like Karate Kid 3. Like, remembering, or now I have to remember that, and it makes my heart hurt. Like,
yeah. Yeah, Meatballs 4 starring Corey Feldman. And in fact, the covers, the two primary covers for the campaigns on my side, it was the poster for Meatballs, homaged with my characters and me in Bill Murray's place. And then for Jim, it was the Meatballs 4 movie poster with him in Corey Feldman's place. So we went full Meatballs on this whole thing.
I love it. And I know your affinity for the 80s, kind of movies and stuff. So that's why I ask, is it Sleepaway Camp, which is a classic 80s camp horror, or Meatballs, which is a classic, for the young people?
Yeah. For the people that have no idea what we're talking about. It's like when I was at the con yesterday, someone was looking at a Critter cover that we did that was an homage to the Cannonball Run, which is 40 years this year. And they were like, oh, this is really cool, but I don't know what the Cannonball Run is. And I was like, oh my God, how old am I right now? I'm talking to people that don't know what the Cannonball Run is. Because these are two dudes that were probably maybe 15 years old, maybe. And I sat there and I was like, okay, let me tell you about the Cannonball Run. And they were just like, their heads exploded. They're like, how do I not know about this movie? I was like, dude, just go find the movie. You'll love it. They bought the book. We did an homage to the Lamborghini girls with Critter and Blue Jay sitting in the Lamborghini. That was a huge movie when I was a kid. I have very, very specific memories of that movie. And so we did that, and it was a nice, we created Big Dog Inc. fans and Cannonball Run fans at the same time yesterday. So it's all good.
Nice.
I had to explain Caddyshack to a couple of the people who work at the store the other day. They're like, Caddyshack, what's that? And I'm like,
it's painful. It's painful.
Like, I'm not that old, right?
I've had two of those moments in the last week. This week, Pearl Jam's 10 turned 30.
No.
Yeah, it came out August 27th, 1991.
Yeah, the 90s don't count. They don't count for anything.
Okay.
It's fair. It's fair.
Just bypass that decade.
Some people watching may know I've been going through some medical stuff, and I've had a nurse, and I made a Brady Bunch reference, and she'd never seen the Brady Bunch.
No.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the morgue. You can just find me there. Like, I'm done. So I get the question. I was heading there. Is what role is pop culture in your fandom playing a bigger role in what you're doing these days? Because I do see so many more of the homages and stuff, and that may just be that's what my eye is drawn to. So I wanted to ask.
For Big Dog Inc., we dodge that stuff as much as possible. Now, there's a time and a place for it. Like when we did the camp thing, obviously we're going to talk about Meatballs. We're going to do things for it, so on and so on. When the Cannonball Run came around, it was like last year with Showgirls. Last year, Showgirls celebrated its 25th anniversary. No one did anything. It was just a completely like, oh, yeah, okay. So guess what? Big Dog Inc. stepped up to the plate, and we homaged Showgirls along with Penny for Your Soul. So this year, again, same thing. American Werewolf in London, The Howling, Cannonball Run. Dear God, this is literally what our current culture is all about right now. And somehow pop culture and society is dropping the ball on celebrating everything that is behind you, Jenna. I mean, they're Indiana Jones pops and all this kind of stuff, right? So I think there's a time and a place for them. And that's why we did the Cannonball Run thing, because I knew no one else was going to do it. And there are definitely people who do it a lot, Marat Michaels, but that's like his brand. I mean, that's what he does. He does that on purpose.
Right.
A lot of other places just use it to try and grab a little extra attention, which is kind of the other point. It's because even if they don't know what your brand is, they're going to go, oh, I understand that reference. That's Ghostbusters. That's, whatever it happens to be. So I get the point. But my concern is that particularly with new people that are doing it and trying to build their own brands and their own comics or whatever it is that they're doing, if you are synonymous with someone else's brand, you are not a brand. And that's where it gets a little bit murky. Like I said, like Marat just goes all in. Like, we are making homage things. This is what this particular thing is. Cool, go do it. But when other companies are just like, every time, like, we're going to homage, it's just like, well, okay. I mean, that's fine. But I kind of would rather see more I want you to do something that's so good that someone else wants to homage it. That's what I want to see from people, and so that's what we try and do in our cases with the stuff that we do. Is we just try to present awesome art and that showcases our characters in the light that they need to be shown in, for them to grow and exist on their own, versus, oh, I remember when you did a Ghostbusters Legend of Oz cover. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. So it's time, it's place, it's purpose, it's context. But it is here and it's not going anywhere. So what I tell people on the other side of that coin is, if you're going to do it, go deep. Stop homaging freaking McFarlane covers. We've all seen them. You can't make them any better. Go deep, like we did for Penny for Your Soul. We did a Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Phoebe Cates homage, and people lost their minds. They're like, dude, that's so cool. I was like, yeah, I know. Just go deep, man. Like the Cannonball Run, go deep. People will get these references, but the more that you go deep into some of this stuff, the more unique what you're doing from an homage standpoint will be. End rant.
Yeah. I just want to let it sit there for a minute, because it is so important to understand the difference between having your own brand and paying homage to something, and then latching on to something else. And it is a very thin line to walk. And I think you just said it as concisely as I've heard anyone say it. So one of the things that Big Dog Ink is known for the cover art. I mean,
sure,
the interior art as well, but it's the art in the books at Big Dog Ink is arguably the best on the market. So
there's some right there.
Yeah.
Got a rep, right?
There you go.
Right. Always be shilling. Absolutely.
I wish I had my Legends of Oz here.
Is there a piece of art that you've had done that didn't get put out, that you regret?
That didn't get put out?
Or that maybe it didn't come in on time, or that it didn't quite work for whatever reason. You're like, man, this is still so cool, I just don't have a use for it right now.
No, everything. Well, no, I can't say that everything that's come in has been used. Just because of our weird roller coaster world when we were on our own, and then we were with Aspen, and then we came out of Aspen. There's stuff that has not been used, but not because we didn't want to use it. It's just we didn't have everything stopped and started and and we kind of went through that process. So a lot of that stuff, like for Oz, for example, we had a whole bunch of stuff that we had done that we finally got to use as we got to the Legend of Oz's 10-year anniversary this year. And so a lot of that stuff that's been sitting in files for the last 5 years is now being used. And eventually all of it will be used as we get to whatever these things are that we need them to be. There have definitely been covers that in my mind I thought, oh wow, this is going to be an amazing one. Everyone's going to want this, and the response was lukewarm. And then there's definitely been covers where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work, man. And then people come racing for it. So the reality is just throw it against the wall. It'll stick or it won't. But as long as you were happy with, because it has to come from you, right? So if you're the writer or the creator or the art director or whatever, and you were like, look, I made the decision to make this piece of art, and you were happy with that, then that's all you can do. From there, everything is customer based. I mean, they're going to buy what they want, whether it's story, whether it's character, whether it's artist, doesn't matter. They're going to buy it whether they like it or not. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. They're going to buy it if they like it or not. So all you can do is just try and do your best and be happy with the decisions that you made, with the artist that you picked. And if it didn't work, you just kind of analyze it. Okay, did they not like the style? Did they not like the concept of the cover? Did they, what didn't work? And then just try to not do that again.
Do you have a favorite piece that's ever been done?
That's a tough call. There are moments in time where I have pieces that was like, this was special. Like when we had Shannon Mayer's first ever cover on The Legend of Oz, we published him for the first time as a comic. That's a moment in time that's like, that's a great piece. It's a great moment. It's a great, on at the time our best-selling book and so on, et cetera, et cetera. And when we had J. Scott Campbell come on and do his Scheherazade cover, it's like, again, another key moment in time for us. For Big Dog Inc. from Growth. So there's a lot of covers that I love, a lot of pieces that I love. But it's more like a nostalgia effect. It's like I see it and I'm like, man, that takes me back to that moment when I first saw it, and I'm like, holy cow, this is going to be great. I can't wait to get this to the Big Dog fans and so on. So I think that's kind of how it works. Is it's sort of like a time machine. You see something and you're like, damn. I remember when we talked about it. It's like I remember Ryan Otley doing his cover for Critter, which was fantastic. And then I go to San Diego Comic-Con, and Ryan is at the Image booth and he's talking to somebody. So I'm just kind of flipping through his art book there. He has no idea who I am because we've never met before. And I'm flipping through, and there's the Critter cover in his book. And I just kind of leave it open and stand there like a numbnuts and wait till he's done with whoever he's talking to. And then he turns to me and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I pointed, and I didn't even do anything. I was like, I might as well have been talking to Tom Cruise at the moment. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I just pointed at the Critter piece, and he was like, oh yeah, that's for a guy doing his own book. And I was like, yeah, I'm the guy. and we hit it off, and we had a great time, and I took him to dinner at San Diego Comic-Con. What a freaking moment that was for me. So so again, it's time machine stuff, and that's what comics, man, they'll date you in a hurry, but it's a great time machine, whether it's your own stuff going back to it, or whether it's like, hey, I remember when I met Claremont or whoever reading Inferno, and holy cow. So yeah, it's use it as that time machine piece. Yeah.
So of all the projects that you have worked on, what has been your favorite one to work on?
Critter. Everybody knows that answer. It's on my business card. It says Tom Hutchison, writer, something, something, something. And then in quotes, like the old days of the message boards, right? You had to have your fancy, weird name. I was Critter's daddy. So on my business card, it says Critter's daddy in quotes. I'm a superhero guy. I that's what I started with. Well, it's not what I started with. Technically, I started with Godzilla, but I moved quickly into superheroes and all that kind of stuff in comics. And so when I first started writing, superheroes was the obvious choice. And so with Critter is I have 3, I guess, long running series now. Critter is one of them. And I love superheroes. I love the blend of superheroes, science fiction. How do you do these things in ways that superheroes let you do anything? I mean, obviously any story you can do anything. You can tell a horror story that's a time travel story, anything. But superheroes are just this unique thing, this little blob that can be twisted and turned in so many ways. And I will always love writing Critter and writing superheroes. So yeah.
Nice.
Do you have a and I know the answer to this, so I don't even know why I'm asking it, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you have a Critter story in the chamber, as it were, ready to go for the next book?
Oh yeah, 100%. I have the
I knew the answer.
Yeah, I have the next 4 issues basically plotted out, and then from beyond those next 4 issues, which would get us to issue 25 of the series, I then know what the next sort of 20 or 30 issues would be, within a general context. So, and that's the case with basically all my books, because all of my books are ongoing series. Now they do have sort of finales, right? So like I was talking yesterday about Legend of Oz, there is a sort of finale for what I'm currently doing. We will reach a point where that story is done. Now that doesn't mean that Oz is done. That doesn't mean that we can't follow the Scarecrow or follow the Tin Man or follow the Lion or follow General Ginger or whatever we want and do more stories. But there is a finale. Same with Penny for Your Soul. There is a finale for all these things, but they are long term. Everything that I do is long form storytelling. I've done miniseries. I don't really like them. I like the idea that I can build something issue by issue into a larger whole that can kind of eventually end. Like eventually we're going to reach issue number 30 and boom, we've told our large scale story. But to me, that's what comics are. It's like, today it's just it's a nightmare, comics, because everything is like, oh, remember in the 90s, right? It's like X-Men #1, the first new X-Men #1 in 40 years. Well, now we get one every 2 years, new X-Men #1. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything anymore. So I always loved, when I got my first X-Men book, I think it was like 210, like whichever one, where Storm beat Cyclops for to lead the X-Men. She didn't even have any powers at the time. She's sporting the mohawk. I just dove into the issue. It's just like, that looks cool. I bought it. Now we're so concerned with like, we need #1s all the time. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I don't buy into any of this reboot stuff. Obviously we need #1s because we need new series, but we don't need to just keep retconning and reboot. X-Men volume 87, #1. Like, who cares? Just let the numbers run, man. I forgot what we were talking about.
I asked if you knew what the next few issues of
storytelling. Yeah, that's right. Storytelling. I just like this. Just the story just needs to keep going, man. I don't care what number it is. Just let the story keep going. You don't have to reboot, retcon, reset. Just keep going. People will get it. Don't worry about it.
I think my favorite series is the Princess versus Zombies. When am I getting more of that?
Yeah, that one was such a bizarre outlier. Like, we did this tiny little 69-hour Kickstarter campaign for an 8-page preview book for Princess vs. Zombies. Everybody lost their mind. I was like, oh my God, I guess I have to do this book now, because I hadn't really planned on doing it, because this would have been last year. So last year it was our 10-year anniversary. So we had Penny for Your Soul stuff and Critter stuff because it was their 10-year anniversary. So we wanted to kind of try and focus on that stuff. But then the Princess versus Zombies was so popular that I was I was like, okay, I guess I have to do this. And so we did it last year, right as COVID was like really spiking in April, and people were like, dude, you cannot do a Kickstarter right now. I was like, well, just go ahead and watch me. And so we did it, and it was our biggest Kickstarter ever. And people love the book. They got the book, and people love the book, and people get, where's more. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So I guess we have to really do this. So, cause like next year is like so booked. It's the 10-year anniversary for Ursa Minor. We have a toy company that wants to make a Critter toy. We have Camp Rad Dog that we want to do again with Jim. We already know what that is, because we planned that before the last one even ended. And it's just like, holy God, I don't even know if I can do it next year, but I want to get to it. But
I'm a patient woman. I can wait.
You are the minority. Everybody's like, dude, now give me a thing.
You guys are doing so much, and everything that you've done, I've loved. So I can definitely tell. Like, I was like, okay, let them take their time on this, because if you don't bring back the blind chick with her dog eating zombies, I'll be sad. So I'll wait, but make sure you bring it back.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and it. So you're a great person to ask, Jen. Did you understand the weird twist ending?
Oh my gosh, I just blanked out.
And I'm putting you on the spot, and I realize that.
Because like I said, I read it when it first came out, and I read it, and I was like, oh, I need some more. Right. And then I haven't really got a chance to read. Like, I've read, we got the Legends of Oz set, where I got one of like all the comics, or one of each one. My favorite one was the green kind of like shiny one.
Right.
So I'll have to go back and reread it again to try and remember what it was.
Right. So, well, I'll just tell you and see if it rings any bells, because I did something strange with it.
I remember something. I remember it being, I was like, wait a minute. I think I had to read it twice, and now I'm trying to remember why I had to read it.
Yeah, I did something weird with it, but it all works within the context of everything else that we've done. When you get to the end of Princesses, I shouldn't tell people this, but I guess, I don't know, if people don't understand it, then they might not get it. So at the end of Princesses versus Zombies, two of the princesses, one saves another one, and they kind of have this hug, and it's kind of like, okay, here's the end of the story. But then you turn the page, and there's a little bit more, and the little bit more is now you've instead of being like right on, trying to get like right on the action, you've now pulled out to this widescreen, right? And across the image. Well, first of all, there's two heads. It's sort of like Mystery Science Theater 3000. There's like two heads sort of in the foreground.
Yeah.
And in the background, you see that same image from the previous page, but across it says directed by somebody. So basically, Princesses versus Zombies is a TV show that exists within the Big Dog Inc. universe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you look at that screen again and through that whole scene, it's like a 3-page little scene.
Okay.
You'll see like it's somebody watching TV, and you'll see a little thing at the bottom right that says something like suggested, other people watch, something like that. And it has Lights, Camera, Jungle, or Throne of Bone, which is the other TV show that exists within the Big Dog Inc. universe.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, right. So we actually have created the Big Dog Inc. universe, and then entities
TV shows
within. Right. Because Lights, Camera, Jungle, which is our Jungle Girl slice of life / comedy drama. Those characters exist in the Penny for Your Soul and Critter universe.
Okay.
A lot of people aren't catching all of the little threads, but they're all there. I promise you, they are all there.
All out and read all of it again. I'm not mad about that. Like I love going back and looking at it because the art is such a different style than some of the other stuff I read. Because I usually read a lot of stuff like Aliens. I've read every Aliens comics and book and all of that. And then I also have been reading like Stray Dogs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I need every type of art style. I love it.
Yeah. It was really fun to do. It was strange to do.
Why do I always pick the strange ones? Everybody's like, "Oh, that one was a hard one. That was a weird one." I'm like, "But that was my favorite."
It's fine. I mean, the fact that Critter and Penny for Your Soul are the only two connected universes is already makes no sense. But they do. They exist in the same universe. There was a story where Critter went to Vegas and interacted with the folks from the hotel. They're in the hotel in Vegas. There is a restaurant called Adam's Ribs, run by Adam, like the Adam. So it's Adam's Ribs is the restaurant.
Okay.
And then in Lights, Camera, Jungle, there is a reference to Adam's Ribs. So all of that is within the same universe.
Oh, we're talking about food again. No.
Yeah.
First interview was about pie. Second one was about steamed buns, and now we're going to talk about ribs.
So yeah, and I will say this. While I love the idea of Adam's Ribs as a restaurant because it's Adam, like Adam and Eve, like I love that so much, I absolutely cannot take credit for it. I cannot take credit. There is a legitimate, real Adam's Ribs, or at least there used to be many years ago, in Maryland. As you come across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, a handful of miles inland, there is Adam's Ribs. And that has stuck with me for so long that when I started to write Penny for Your Soul and Adam became part of the story, I was like, oh my God, there is my stupid little Adam's Ribs joke, and we're gonna toss it in there because even as a kid I was like, is that like a joke? Like, do they know what they just did, or is it literally just owned by a dude named Adam and they're doing like, and I have no idea why they named it Adam's Ribs other than I'm sure it was probably named Adam, but I always got the joke immediately, like that's hysterical. I'm like 13 years old and going ha ha, from the Simpsons. So yeah. So I can't take credit, but it is definitely a life moment for me put into the books. So, and Val was asking, is there any time I'm not creating or writing a book in your head? Basically, no. Even when I'm doing things like shipping comics, packing and shipping and stuff, while I kind of try to go brain dead a little bit there and I put, TV or something on in the background just to, have sound happening. even then it's like I'm still kind of usually tinkering around because I usually have to do something in that regard when I'm done. So it's like, okay, I'm shipping, but when I'm done, I got to go write this script. And so I'm monkeying around with dialogue in my head or trying to set up a scene or whatever it is. So it's kind of always there. The only time I'm really not is when I'm selling stuff, because then it's a whole different mindset. Then it's like, hey, I've got whatever I've got, and I want to sell these books to you, whether it's my books or whether it's stuff on the Midnight Collectors Club, where we sell Marvel and DC and Dark Horse and whatever else that I just happen to buy in these collections. Then it's a different mindset. But any other time during the day, it's like right before I came out here, I went and took a walk around the lake for about an hour. And during that time, it's like, okay, what am I doing? I got to come back. I know I have to do this show. Then I got to do some shipping. Then I got to write this thing for this guy and on and on and on and on. So, it's creating. It should be a constant thing, but that's also sort of a privilege for it to be a constant thing, because not everybody has the ability to, just kind of focus on that. A lot of people have their 9-to-5 jobs and they have to go and do their job, and then they come home and they have to, focus in on doing it. So it's definitely a privilege to be able to do what I do, because it's really all that I do is comics one way or another, whether I'm creating them, selling them, shipping them, doing shows like this about them. It's a privilege to do it. So, and we've kind of gotten our shit together here over the last year or so. Because it's building the infrastructure for Kickstarters and stuff is just mind-bogglingly difficult. And we've been late on a number of projects. We've always fulfilled every single time. We've never missed a fulfillment, but we have been a couple of months behind from time to time. So sometimes longer. One time I had a printer completely drop out on me. So I had to go find a new printer, which took us months. So I was like, good Lord. But things like that happen. You just you just have to keep going. I mean, if bad things happen and you just bury your head in the sand and you don't learn from it and you don't figure out how to fix it, then you can't move on. And so for us, we just kind of keep moving. We just kind of keep going. We try and correct whatever we can correct and try and be as on time as we can.
So you definitely do take a lot of things and like twist them in very beautiful ways, and I love it. But where do you find your inspiration? Does it just like pop in your head, or is there like something around you that like it'd be like, oh, I want to do it like that?
There's been a lot of things that have sparked. Like when I did Penny for Your Soul Volume 2, I didn't know how to introduce a character at all. Like I was like, I want to do something weird, but I don't really know like how to do it. And then I went to the bank. And I came out of the bank and some girl went zipping by on a little moped thing. And I was like, oh, I'm doing that. That's how we're going to do this. And so we did it. So now obviously that was just like inspiration for kind of like a moment. But as far as like books go, it's terminology, words, phrases. Like that's how The Legend of Oz came by is I was basically I drive to cons everywhere I go. I drive. So I'm driving through New Mexico, Arizona. It's just cactus and desert and whatever, and all of the terminology starts to blend. You have it's the Wild West, right? So then you have with Oz, you have the Wicked Witch of the West, you have the Wicked Witch of the Wild West. What does all this mean? And it just starts to
snowball.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so the Wicked Witch of the West, Wicked West, we could have the Legend of Oz, Wicked West, blah blah blah. Okay, Dorothy can't wear ruby slippers. What can we do? Kind of spurs would be kind of cool. There's ruby spurs. Toto could probably still be a dog. That would be pretty easy. But we know if it's a Western, she's going to have to ride a horse. Toto became the horse, and just go and go and go and go. So sometimes it's just little tiny triggers. Adam's ribs, right? And then sometimes it's sit down and like, okay, I want to make a thing. How do I make it? Like Princesses versus Zombies. Princesses versus Zombies was not a thing. It was not so like people. The only reason that Princesses versus Zombies exists is because I hate everything zombie. I basically hate it. There's very little zombie stuff that I like.
Aw.
Yeah, and that's why there's tons of Walking Dead sucks jokes in Princess versus Zombies.
I thought it was just me. I was like, okay. I mean,
yeah,
I don't like those types of zombies, but when you have like World War Z types of zombies
yeah.
or 28 Days Later types of zombies, I'm just like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are the type of zombies I like. The ones that could actually probably take us all out. Those
Right.
are the zombies I want. The slow shuffling ones, meh.
Right, exactly. And so people kept asking me, well, how would you write a zombie thing then? And I was like, I don't know, because I don't care. I wouldn't. Exactly. And so when I was at Baltimore Comic-Con a number of years ago, I was there with Jesse Wichman and a couple of BDI fans, the Buchanans, and we were at Hooters, as you do. And
totally shrimp.
Somehow we got onto the talk of, okay, so how would you write a zombie book then? And I said I would probably only write a zombie book if it was something just completely outlandish and bizarre and left field, like princesses versus zombies.
Yeah.
Like that's literally how it happened. And just like Adam's Ribs, that just stuck with me. And so about a year or two or something later, I went back to Jesse and I was like, Jesse, do you remember this thing, this princesses versus zombies thing? And he was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to like do this? Do you want to like help me design these characters? And he was like, yeah. So over the course of about a year or so, we debuted the princesses as art prints at Comic-Cons. That was their first appearance, was these art prints. And so we kind of built this following for a book that didn't exist. Because people saw the characters and they were like, yo, what is this? Yeah. Where's the book? I'm like, there's no book. There's this art print. And then we put out the next one. Yo, where is this book? There is no book. Yeah. We took it to horror shows. We had no book. We had the art prints. They were like, yo, where is this book? And I was like, okay, that's where I knew. That was it. I was like, okay, now I have to do this book, because if the horror people are freaking out on it, I have to do this book. And that's where I had to start to figure out, like, what the hell is this thing going to be? And so on and so on. And it went through a lot of incarnations too, to become what it is. But what it is, I'm very pleased with, and the fans are all pleased with it. And that's really ultimately what matters.
All right, cool.
So Kyle's back, but he's muted.
Yes. So I have to ask the most important question of the day.
Okay. Yeah.
If you could only eat one pie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Chocolate.
Just plain chocolate, not like chocolate pecan or silk chocolate, or.
Well, I mean, I think all chocolate pie is silk chocolate. I think that's kind of what it is, isn't it?
I have a big confession. I don't like chocolate.
So you need to just turn her off, Kyle. Just shut that down. We can't have this kind of anti-chocolate sentiment running around here. But yeah, chocolate silk pie is basically, I think that's what it is. There may be other versions of it, but no, I don't like, pecans or walnuts or any of that kind of stuff. So I don't like, and I don't do fruit either. Like fruit is a no, get it out of here. So yeah, it's just give me a chocolate pie with some, some whipped cream around the edges, and we're good to go. Yeah.
The answer to that question for me is pizza. Pizza pie.
Fair. It's fair. It's fair. Yeah.
To be fair.
No. So I wanted to ask you, because we're running low on time. Who's your Super Bowl picks this year?
Oh Lord, I haven't even figured it out. It's hard to pick against the Buccaneers simply because the whole freaking team is back, which is such a rarity. Now they're all older, of course, but when we find out that Brady was playing on a bum knee, and he's healthy, it's like that's really hard. Now, obviously, any given Sunday is what they say, right? Any given Sunday, a ball can get tipped, it can be picked off, anything can happen. But it's really hard to not say, look, they are the odds-on favorite to be there. As for the other side, like Kansas City, I don't buy them now. as I did last year. I think a lot of things have changed player personnel wise. I think Buffalo is surging. And my bet would be that they would come out on top of a matchup. The Buffalo over Kansas City would probably be what would happen this year. So I would probably lean in that direction.
I think your Chargers have a real shot.
No,
I also think
we don't. I'll tell you right now, we don't. And I'll tell you why. And it's a very simple reason. All of the starters are fantastic. All of our backup dudes are garbage. We have no depth. So the instant the injuries happen, it's all downhill.
I was just gonna say that they're gonna have to have a really good year injury wise,
right,
for it to play out that way. But I think they have a shot if they stay healthy.
They will make the playoffs. I'll tell you right now, they'll make the playoffs. Yeah,
I like the Buffalo pick, and I would not bet a single dollar against a pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
and I think that's a thing.
I mean, listen, their division is so weak. Their division is so weak. They're going to win their division, so they're already a playoff team. There's not a lot they have to do to make the playoffs. Once you're in there, I don't know. You have Brady is so monumentally good at finding a way to win. Even if it's with a kicker, that's the old thing. Like Joe Montana, I never had to have a kicker win my games. I threw touchdowns, man. But the reality is he's got the rings. So, he's got, and he has the exact same team.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't bet against him. I equate this year for Aaron Rodgers like watching Alex Smith at the end play for his career. He's playing to survive.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I think it's kind of the same. But I really like your Buffalo pick a lot.
Yep. I think they've got everything kind of locked in place. I mean, obviously Kansas City is not a schlub team, but I don't buy them. I don't buy them as the powerhouse that they were looking to become. That's all I see there. And I think the Chargers are better. I think the Raiders are better. I think the Broncos with Teddy Bridgewater and a quarterback will be better because they still have a great defense. So I think the AFC West is going to be brutal. I think it's going to be absolutely brutal. And that should make it fun. So, yeah.
I'm sorry. I watched the wrestling, not the football. I watched the soccer, which is actually the football, but
Tom and I think this is the thing we bonded on most is we both have a love for football, and particularly fantasy football that's maybe a little unhealthy.
I can get behind all the cheerleaders though.
We have a 20-team league again for Big Dog Inc. We filled out the entire 20 teams, and it is just madness. And I already have a freaking guy that's out for 3 weeks, and we haven't even started the season yet. So thanks, T.Y. Hilton.
I didn't sign up this year just because I wasn't sure my heart could handle Tom's scoring system for another year. I am actually taking an entire season and only playing on FanDuel.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
wow.
I'm not in any of my normal leagues. I'm going to take an entire season and do weekly draft and see what happens.
Yeah, I do FanDuel stuff. I do okay with FanDuel. Not spectacular, but I do okay.
I just think the challenge is interesting of every week looking at every matchup and seeing who's lined up where.
Weirdly enough, when I first started FanDuel about 4 years ago, I actually won $2,000 on a hockey game, a hockey, whatever they call these things, a hockey whatever. And what was funny was it was the last game of the night, and I can't remember the dude's name. He scores a goal. Or no, he got an assist. Which is what put me over the top and put me in the top spot. I went from $200 to $2,000, and I was losing my mind. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then the game ends, and I go back to check my account to see like if the money's in there, and it's not there. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? So I go and I look at the game, and they took away his assist, which put me back into second place on this in this thing. And I was like, no way. So I went to the official stats on the NHL.com, and I'm like, yo, it says assist right there. It's right there. And so I just kept refreshing FanDuel. I'm like, you better find this assist, dudes. You better find it. And it took about 4 hours, and it finally popped back in. And I got the top spot. And I've never had a top spot since, but I got one, and on all things hockey, which I know basically nothing about.
Oh my gosh.
I've been doing some FanDuel baseball stuff that's been wild, but it's not. I'm excited for football because it's much more controllable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So in the last few minutes, tell everybody where they can go to give you money, where they can support Big Dog Inc., where they can buy the things.
Where can they find you?
Yeah, so of course we have BigDogInc.com. That goes right to the store. All the stuff that we've got from across all of our titles is there. If you do Twitter and Instagram, it's BDI Comics. If you're on Facebook, just look up Big Dog Inc., or you can find me too. And then we do Kickstarters. We do Kickstarters quarterly as far as our big campaigns. So our next one will be in October. And then we do occasional little things throughout the year as well, little like week-long bonus. Like we had Goth Day became a campaign this year, that kind of stuff. Princess Day, and we do all kinds of weird little things like that. But and then I do the Comic Book Shopping Network on Facebook. It's a live selling show. I have one show called the Midnight Collectors Club Sunday night tonight, and then we do the Big Dog Doghouse show on Wednesday nights, where it's pretty much all Big Dog Inc. stuff. So if you don't know enough about Big Dog Inc. yet, you're welcome to come hang out, chit chat with all the other fans and buyers, and ask questions and see all the cool art and so on. Yeah, Gaval, the next Kickstarter is October for The Legend of Oz, The Wicked West. We're going to be starting to tease all that stuff out here very soon, because it's only about a month away, a little over a month away. So that'll be what's next. And then as we roll into January for 2022, there is a very, very big opportunity and chance that we will be doing a Kickstarter for the first ever Big Dog Inc. toy action figure, and it will be for Critter. The molds are basically pretty much done, or I should say the 3D modeling aspect of it. Once we get the modeling done, then they'll make an actual physical piece to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to work. And then once that gets approved, that's when we take it to market, and we're aiming to do that in January of next year. So that'll be super cool if we can get all the dominoes to fall properly.
Definitely. And then hopefully by 2023, more Princess versus Zombies.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I've got. 2023 in my calendar. Yes. Or 2025, whatever you feel is good.
Well, we did. Weirdly enough, there was a post I made a long time ago. It was like 2 years ago, maybe. And it was just a random post. Something I think I was seeing so many books that were just like based purely on like sex and just whatever, that kind of stuff. And so I made a post like, I haven't really done this type of genre before. I mean, we've done like sexy covers and stuff, but as far as like making a story that's about this kind of thing, we're never going to do it. So I'm announcing now that in 2025, I'm going to be doing a book called Lingerie Wars. And everybody took it seriously. It was kind of like the Princesses versus Zombies thing, right? It was just like, oh, Tom said something. It's on the internet.
It's a thing.
It has to be real. And so for like, I don't know, like 6 months after that, every time I was on a talk show, they were like, so tell me about Lingerie Wars. I'm like, yo, this is not real. And
Coming soon.
but now coming soon. Yeah, now apparently coming soon. 2025. I still got like 4 years to figure out even what it is, because I don't even know.
You can definitely do it. It's just going to be Victoria's Secret models just shooting people with grenades or something.
I don't know.
I love it.
So there's that. That's be careful what you tell people, because then they want it.
Definitely. I mean, next time you want to do it, just do like an April Fool's Day. Do ... April Fool's.
Right. Make all. That's correct. That's like the easy out. Like make all your official announcements on April Fool's Day. That way, whichever ones are really good, you can be like, ha ha, fooled you. We're doing it. And if they're really bad, you can be like, yeah, it was April Fool's Day. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was April Fool's Day, man.
Yeah, just make like 100 announcements. Yeah, just a list of like, this is what's coming. And then like let everybody be like, well, I like that and I like that and I like that. And you're like, oh yeah, it's all just a joke. And then bring the stuff out later.
Right. Just be like, here's a idea of poll, maybe. Tell me what you like.
Right. The April Fool's poll. None of this is real unless you want it to be, you know.
So perfect. Oh, everybody's killing me today.
So I had to step away, but I just want to come back. We're out of time. Tom, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, sure.
You always sign up. You always are down to do these crazy things when I come up with these ideas. So I appreciate that from you, and I appreciate all the work you're doing. And I'll see you. I think we have a couple of shared conventions coming up, assuming they happen. So I'll see you in person very soon.
Yeah, my next con is next month, assuming it happens. It's Detroit Pop Fest. Or not? What am I talking? I'm totally
Monroe
like
Pop.
Murdered that Monroe PopCon. I cross-pollinated that with the old Detroit fanfare thing. It's it's Monroe. It's near Detroit, but it's in Monroe. So that's where I'm going to be next in September. Just about 3 weeks.
Yeah, and at that show, the Experience is sponsoring the cosplay contest.
Awesome. So, there we go.
We'll be there.
Beautiful.
So, I'm excited to see you in person and to like virtually, like from 10 feet away, give you a high five or something because safety. So
sounds good.
We'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody stay tuned. We'll be back in just about a minute with Joshua Starnes from Red 5 Comics. We'll be right back.